Ready to have a whale of a time? Today I'm giving you a new lease on marine life by sharing my official list of 6 books where sea creatures play a major or minor role. So let's dive right in. Up first is River of Teeth by Sarah Gailey. This is a historical fiction fantasy novella that's inspired by the American Hippo Bill of 1910, which was proposed to but never passed by the US Congress. This bizarre bill would have approved the release of hippos into the bayous of Louisiana, where the animals would have eaten the invasive water hyacinth clogging the waterways, and also have served as another delicious source of meat for Americans. Just think, we could have been eating hippo burgers.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger.
Sarah Gailey's book is a pseudo-western that imagines the what-if alternate reality where the bill did pass and gunslinging cowboys now roam the Mississippi River, not on horseback, but on hippo-back.
Howdy. Howdy.
Now it's all starting to make sense that the word hippopotamus comes from an ancient Greek word meaning river horse. The book follows Winslow Houndstooth, great name by the way, and his diverse ragtag crew of hippo wranglers who are hired by the government to clear feral hippos from a certain area. But of course, there's another group who wants the hippos to stay there for a number of reasons, mostly because money. This novella has great dialogue, a quirky cast, and a unique alt history premise. Hip, hip, hippo-ray! Up next is The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Nayler. This book is about octopuses, or octopi. I can never decide which plural to go with. We always say that dolphins, dogs, and pigs are incredibly smart, but this sci-fi novel explores what might happen in the near future if we found out that there's another form of intelligent life living right under our noses and in our oceans. Surprisingly though, this first contact story with protective, sometimes murderous octopuses is a relatively small part of the book. The rest of it explores questions of consciousness, artificial intelligence, and humanity.
That is deep.
It reminded me in some ways of the movie Arrival. Basically, the book looks at how we might communicate with something that's completely different from us and how it views and understands the world. Anybody craving calamari all of a sudden? Third on my list is Starter Villain by John Scalzi. Okay, so the dolphins in this book only play a minor role, but they're also immensely entertaining. The book revolves around Charlie, a divorced, unemployed guy whose mysterious uncle dies, leaving Charlie his fortune, volcanic island, and business empire. The only thing is, the business is villainy.
Got a good evil laugh.
Charlie is thrust into difficult situations with mega wealthy supervillains, assassination attempts, triple agents, and yes, foul-mouthed dolphins on strike.
You have to use so many cuss words.
The dolphins may be my favorite part of this James Bond-inspired universe. They're portrayed as intelligent, working-class members of Charlie's operation who are currently having a labor dispute and are going to give Charlie a piece of their minds in the most vulgar terms possible. The back and forth between Charlie and these dolphins is hilarious, especially because he's been thrown to the sharks, so to speak, without a real warning about the dolphins' temperaments or demands. Such a fun read. Talking animals are almost a guaranteed hit.
Yes, it's Kermit, the frog.
Up next is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne.
Sea was angry that day, my friends.
This classic work of science fiction from 1871 has a bunch of sea creatures in it, but perhaps the most famous is the giant squid. The book's narrator is Pierre Aronnax, a French marine biologist who joins an expedition to hunt down and kill a mysterious sea monster. After boarding a boat and searching the seas for several months, they're attacked by the sea monster, with Aronnax, the harpooner Ned Land, and a servant named Conseil going overboard during the encounter. They survive by clinging to the beast, which turns out is actually a cutting-edge submarine called the Nautilus, built and navigated by Captain Nemo. Nemo is a curious sailor, haunted by his past and on the quest for knowledge. Aronnax joins in on the marine research mission, viewing coral, hunting sharks, and yes, getting attacked by giant squids.
Looks like a giant squid.
But the Nautilus never gets close enough to land to let out its passengers, so Aronnax and his buddies are essentially stuck aboard indefinitely.
I'd like this Captain Nemo if he weren't holding his friends hostage all the time.
Verne manages to write a book with a bunch of science and technical submarine concepts that still captivates the imagination. I mean, how can you not like a novel that has the ruins of Atlantis, underwater battles, and a huge whirlpool in it?
It takes place on a submarine.
Next on my list is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway.
I knew there was something fishy.
An old Cuban fisherman struggles to reel in a giant marlin, using all his wit and stamina to try and accomplish the task over the course of 2 days. This is a short, simple tale of an ordinary guy and a snapshot of one significant experience in his life. Although it may sound like a dull, slow reading experience, this book is anything but boring. There's plenty of action in everything Santiago does to try and land the whopper. And last but not least is Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. Inspired by Sleeping Beauty, this fantasy novella has a main character named Toadling, who's a lovable, unexpected hero. She's a gentle human girl who was stolen at birth and raised in the land of fairy by magical water creatures, giving her a dose of magic as well. Now, she can do things like change into a toad whenever she wants. And she's been given a task to guard the sleeping girl in the tower that's protected by brambles and thorns. And she's been on the job for a couple of centuries, becoming lonely and odd in her isolation.
Do you think I'm weird?
Then a curious knight comes near, and he's read a story about the sleeping princess in the tower and is there to investigate, believing that the story is true. It's his kind interactions with Toadling and Toadling's curiosity about him that gives the book its charm. It's a short, sweet novella that shows while we can't change our pasts, we can forge our own future. It also switches up the typical battle of good versus evil, adding a unique twist to a fairy tale you already know backwards and forwards.
What an incredible Cinderella story.
There you have it, 6 books that feature sea creatures. That went swimmingly, didn't it? Remember to like, subscribe, and let me know what sea creature books I'm missing, since this is really just a drop in the literary ocean. Happy reading!